Okay. So this should be also interesting to continue the theme.
Okay.
And you're proposing a holistic peace theory. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, let me start my presentation. So as part of the cutting-edge research section, I will try to discuss this Buddhism and post-liberal peace building. Then the core aim of my research is to create a post-liberal hybrid holistic peace through a complementary and dialectical relationship between the Buddhist inner peace and the liberal peace. The background of my research is the increasing urgency to create build a dialogical and complementary relationship between the liberal Western liberal peace thesis and the non-Western version of peace after the liberal peace fails and invite huge criticism. So I want my research to be one of the exemplars of this trial of post-liberal hybrid peace by combining Buddhist inner peace and liberal peace. Okay? To this end, I will build my argument according to this structure. So first, I will show you briefly the hallmarks of what is liberal peace and its critique. And then I'll move on to the hallmarks now post-liberal peace, after liberal peace faced many criticisms. Then I'll move on to the Buddhist inner peace. Then I'll move on to the core topic of this research, that is to try to create post-liberal hybrid holistic peace. In here, I will look at the Buddhist views of human rights, democracy, and market economy, and then I will conclude with research implications. Okay, so let me talk about what is liberal peace. Now, according to the liberal peace thesis, the liberal states based upon these human rights, such as equality of equal laws, free speech, or the private property, are more peaceful than non-liberal states. In other words, constitutional restraints of the executive action or citizens' active participation in politics, and all the existence of free speech and market economy can be the foundation of lasting peace. And based upon which, the contemporary peace building has been called liberal peace. The hallmarks of this liberal peace building is this one: that liberal democracy and holding multi-party elections, and the stable central government and human rights principles, and of course market economy. So the people who are advocating liberal peace say that establishing a democratic peace, democratic governance, or promotion of human rights and the market economy will help people to resolve their problems peacefully and constructively, which leads to lasting peace. This has been the core of contemporary peace building. Yeah. However, it invited huge criticism. First critique is that this has been the imposition of Western values upon the beyond the Western framework, as if it were universal or concrete values, which means it's been critiqued as the lack of cultural and contextual diversity. In line with this, the second critique is there has been a lack of constructive and sincere dialogue between the Western liberal actors and the local actors, and also the lack of the active engagement of local actors in peace building. It's kind of, I can say, it's kind of the way to promote the peace building has been undemocratic. So following this critique and many failures, now we have the term, the emerging term, the post-liberal peace. The first hallmarks of post-liberal peace is that peace building should be locally and culturally oriented, which draws on the local, historical, or cultural contextual resources and wisdom as a valuable stuff to build peace. Yeah. So local knowledge and wisdom should be appreciated. However, the point is, but the post-liberal peace does not mean to reject liberal peace. Or I can say the failure or criticism of liberal peace should not be seen as the reason to reject or abandon the spirits of the liberal peace categorically. Rather, the upshot of the liberal peace building is to create hybrid form of peace. It combines the spirit of liberal peace and non-Western liberal approaches. So it's kind of neat for the proactive dialogue between the liberal peace and another peace visions. So in this context, the core hypothesis of my research is this. So Buddhist peace is a spirit of the liberal peace, because they would enrich Buddhist peace itself, but whilst also Buddhist peace can inspire the liberal peace to expand or broaden the party of its peace vision. And basically, liberal peace has been rather structural or institution-oriented, whilst the Buddhist peace more internal dynamics or internal dimension. That's why I want to try to kind of integrate these two different dimensions to strengthen the peace. Okay. So now I will talk about briefly Buddhist inner peace. There are many ideas of Buddhist inner peace. People have different ideas, but here I will focus on this one. So in my research, Buddhist inner peace has three components. They are reflective self-awareness and non-dualistic thinking and compassionate mind. So that here in a reflective self-awareness is to practice the step back from our own current frame of reference to critically examine our patterns of thinking or logics shaping our experience. So, sharpening this kind of reflective self-awareness helps us to realize that our way of thinking and knowing are socially constructive and contextual and contingent, which eventually empowers us to be aware of the possibility to build different alternative ways of thinking, and also to be open to other views and values norms to co-create new ones. So this is the first dimension of inner peace. The second one is the non-dualistic thinking. That is, it means to understand the interdependent or interpenetrating nature of the different conceptual thinking, shaping different ideas or views of reality. What it means, you can say, is a consciousness of the interminable conflict in different types of the conceptual thinking which claim its absolute or complete status. And also the consequent recognition that the harmony of the world is a harmony of opposite or contradiction. This kind of a practice will help us to develop or even practice the synthetic integrative thinking, and then also appreciate the diversity of values and perspectives. Okay? Then the third component is, of course, it's important, compassionate mindset. That is an acknowledgement of the inherent humanity, the shared humanity of all human beings, and also the commonalities in suffering or aspiration among those having different identities or ethnicities. Okay? Then this compassion mind is based upon the unity-based worldview. That is the consciousness of the oneness of humanity, means awareness that our own well-beings are also interdependent, interconnected with others. So this kind of compassion mind inspires us to help different people having different goals of peace, help each other, to contribute to each other, promote peace. So these are the components of the compassionate mind. Then, so anyway, the Buddhist inner peace, I can say, is active development or practice of the multiple functions of mind, beyond, but including social and cultural priority of thinking based upon holistic view. So this is a basis of Buddhist inner peace. Okay? Yeah, this is time. Okay. So now I'll talk about Buddhism and the post-liberal hybrid peace. So here I want to discuss first Buddhist view of human rights. The core of human rights is that human beings have equality and dignity. So the practicing or promoting human rights is to embody the equality or dignity worth all human beings inherently possess. And also the promoting human rights creates positive conditions for the human development. Because, for example, if the society promotes like a social, political, economic human rights, that also creates positive conditions in which people can try to seek their own self-actualization. And then also I would say, so Buddhism stands by the spirits of human rights. For example, Buddhism supports human rights from the doctrine of Buddha nature. Okay, so there are many ideas or researches on meaning Buddha nature, but I want to focus on this one to proceed my research. So Buddha nature doctrine of Buddha nature states that all people beyond social status have the Buddhahood, or say divine nature, and potential and also ability to embody what the Buddha taught to to achieve the liberation from suffering. Because Buddha, when he started his religious spiritual journey, he was very critical of social discrimination and the causes of his age, of his time. So I can say, based on his teachings, Buddha nature, it can be understood as a natural rights concept of people being free and equal. So I think that Buddhism can support the spirits and human rights. And then, but also I want, at this point, there is a complementary relationship between the promotion of human rights and the development of inner peace. Buddhist inner peace can be understood as a physiological, psychological, philosophical, and spiritual enrichment for human beings. But however, this internal enrichment needs external environment in which they are promote practice this enrichment or inner peace. Especially the role of human rights needs to guarantee the social conditions to underpin the possibility of the human flourishing and fulfillment. So promoting human rights also creates social conditions in which we can sharpen or hone our skills, abilities for the multiple ways of thinking and knowing, and also promote or practice compassionate mind based on unity in diversity. Okay. The next one I want to talk about the Buddhist view on democracy. The core of democracy are this one: equal dignity and liberty of the citizens, and equality before the law, and most of the pluralism. In our Buddhist society was very open to anybody, beyond caste, class, ethnicity, gender, whatever, based upon the doctrine of Buddhist doctrine of emancipation and compassion, and also the doctrine of dependent origination is also can be foundation of democracy. That is, the interdependent, interconnected relationship of any kind, which can be the foundation for the horizontal or symbiotic relationship between among the people having the different views, values, and norms. So I can say that we can see the compatibility between the Buddhism and spirit of democracy. And also like human rights and inner peace, the inner peace and democracy can complement each other, strengthen democracy. First of all, I must say that democracy cannot be identified as the simple majoritarianism or balloting. Now, the core of democracy is a public reason, meaning the free public discussion and deliberative interaction of the different political thoughts and practices, which means the citizens should be ready to learn from each other and contribute to the construction of new values and practices. So at the point, free and creative public dialogue requires the participants to show the capacity to transcend their positional confinement or limitation of their confinement, to listen to others. So here comes the merits of the Buddhist inner peace. Like empowered citizens with this kind of self-awareness and thinking and of compassionate mind can turn into the autonomous transformative agent in a collaborative and dialogical context. So I think still that Buddhism and inner peace can be complement each other to strengthen the democracy as a public reason or dialogue. So anyway, the authentic democracy should be understood as enhancement of the ability of citizens to engage in critical evaluation of existing values and norms. So I think the sharp ability for reflective and compassionate or multi-perspective dimension can strengthen dialogical and transformative spirit of democracy. So I can say that the maturity of our human internal dimension can reflect the maturity of democracy in the long run. Then I'll just talk about this Buddhist view of market economy, one of the pillars of liberal democracy. Now, first of all, Buddhism does not reject economy itself, because even for the spiritual development, proper economic circumstances is essential. Minimal economic well-being and inner peace are interdependent. But however, the Buddhism takes a very cautionary stance towards the market-oriented economy. The market-oriented economy, can create certain benefit, of course, and also boost macroeconomy, but at the same time it causes a clash of different stakes, sometimes or many times without accommodation, and causing inequality and social injustice. So the Buddha, when he started his spiritual religious journey, was his mission to reform the unjust social order based on the loving kindness, the justice, and the equality and solidarity. Any kind of economic activity that it could impair or degrades human dignity, or even that deprives the citizens of the opportunity for spiritual and philosophical development cannot be accepted as an authentic system. So, authentic economic system needs to be a system for the spiritual wealth as well as material wealth. So, Buddhism envisions the economic system that sustains, promotes social justice and equity. But here again, I want to reiterate that it doesn't mean that individual working for their own interest, but rather Buddhism said, okay, it's okay, but also you should put compassionate mind, step into economic activity, to control ourselves, to be extremely selfish. And so anyway, the economic system hybrid peace is this one, the one that helps human beings to achieve material, physiological, psychological, and spiritual maturity. So based on this analysis, I want to propose this model, possible hybrid peace. There are 4 components. First of all, of course, human rights, and also the promotion of dialogical, transformative democracy based upon the self-critique and readiness for mutual learning. And the third component is economic system, but that sustains and furthers material, philosophical, spiritual fulfillment of citizens based upon social justice and equity. And therefore, of course, the mention is the development of inner peace, based upon reflective self-awareness, non-dualist thinking, and also multi-perspective approach and compassion. So this is kind of my model that I want to propose for the future peace building. Then lastly, as I said, there are many problems, but still I can say Buddhist peace and liberal peace can complement each other. And also the future peace should be it's kind of the intercultural or intercivilizational dialogue for the hybrid peace construction. So I hope we can continue this kind of stuff. But then finally, this research is really philosophical, theoretical, without any empirical studies. So in my next step will be to try this kind of stuff in the field work, because it's very philosophical oriented. But still, I think I want to develop this kind of the peace approaches that try to combine, integrate different prospects of peace. That is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your good presentation. I wonder the religious conflict, religious conflict
Yes.
may become worse.
Yeah.
When someone wants to between Muslim and Hindu, and someone is Buddhism based.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. I mean, the thing is, you're right. There are many kind of conflict based on religion. But also, I want to say from peace and conflict perspective, even the kind of religious conflict has other factors that drove some people to conflict. As I said, even religious conflict. For example, in the case of Myanmar, like I just said, Rohingya people are killed by Buddhists. But I think sometimes, when I carefully read some articles recently, then this religious people, or sometimes some religious people, reinterpret their own religious teaching for their own interest, which is totally different from original teaching, original philosophy, of what religion wants to say. So sometimes I have to think about, we have to be aware that some religious group exploit or distort the original teaching religion, so that they can have legitimacy to go to extreme. So yeah, but also as you said, but still as you said, there are many. It's kind of religious conflict.
Yes, it will be right.
Yeah.
So the conflict is between Buddhist and
Yeah.
Buddhist.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even is this also like in Japanese history we have this kind of conflict, violence. But also this is sometimes it's not, of course, Buddhism, but also it's more like a social identity. Meaning, even because there, of course there are different schools of Buddhism, but also they share some common teachings.
Okay.
So
Anyway,
yeah.
so from my point of view, so there is an advantage of liberal peace building.
Exactly. And sometimes because
So non-religious.
no, but still I can say you're right. But also that's why I say the spirit of democracy human rights should be appreciated by Buddhists, because that also help us, to making peace in the context of Buddhism. So yeah, that's why I want to try to discuss secular and religious approach it to combine it, because they have different merits and also different disadvantages. So I want to just combine this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Neda?
What I'm trying to say is Buddhist inner peace is about the spiritual peace, and it doesn't necessarily have to be translated into social peace. Like the example of Rohingya people in Myanmar. I mean, you said you cannot, you're thinking of doing an empirical study. Nobody can do empirical studies, but you can observe empirical studies that are being done by people. You can look at the situation in Myanmar, which is a genocide, and you can look at the history of Japan. Japan became a pacifist country after the war. Do you think Buddhism views have been strengthened after the war? Japan was for hundreds of years a Buddhist country, and now it's a pacifist country. But only the experience of war made this country. So what I'm trying to say, I think this is a general pitfall in every religion, including Islam, Christianity, that they think spiritual peace or peacefulness can be translated into social peace. But they're in different spectra, they are in different scopes. Like Buddhism may help me with my inner peace, then I go outside and following my job, I will kill somebody. That's so socially, these are very different scopes. So I don't know. What do you think about it? Do you think your study doesn't have that issue that you're expanding something spiritual to social or political arena without considering other factors that could be more important than spiritual factors?
What do you mean, like important than spiritual being?
Yeah, there are, economic factors, racial factors. There are so many factors that could overshadow easily spiritual factors and change the situation. So how can we use spiritual power to make a social change without working on other factors? You see?
But it might be like that, because my approach was that peace should be holistic. For example, if say, even Buddha, when he started his journey, he's tried to change, because he was critical of social dimension. So I think from this point, I can say, spiritual peace, but also he had social political dimension in his mind. So I think this should be combined. But as you say, but I also have to be careful with your point. But sometimes they have, I think it should have combined. But also, in my view, in my research, Buddha or Buddhism was thinking peace as a holistically, like a physiological, material, economical, but also philosophical, because they are interdependent. Like somebody said, mind, body is interdependent. So they should be also in a balanced way. The peace should be promoted. I think that's be what the Buddhism and also post-liberal peace want to achieve. So I think that's the point. But as I said, but right.
Thank you for your presentation. I would like to address the other aspect of Buddhism, which is the system of the karma and the paramita, which somehow create a very steep stratification as well as impose the power onto the state to be able to expand or even subdue the lower state as a part of a responsibility to retribute the karma. So in that sense, would that contribute to the peace? I mean, it's somehow justified the just war system in the Buddhist society since antiquity. Because they seem to have a total mindset that the state that accumulate, the state or the sovereigns that accumulate the superior karma would have the total rights to impose these powers on those who has the lesser karma in their mindsets. So how the karma system contributes to peace, or except for the pacification system?
You mean karma?
Yes, the karma, because it's the previous sins in life that create the certain condition that each individual share in a certain life. But it seems that within the karma system, the state or the sovereigns or the ruler definitely have a superior karma. So that also somehow negate the concept of equality in the liberal peace mindset as well. So I think it's quite an antithesis to the concept, the karma system or the Buddhism.
The karma system.
Yes, the karma system.
First, I want to say, how do you define karma?
Karma is like the previous life sins or maybe the misdeeds that inflicted the certain mishaps or malfunction in the
But
current.
also I want to add, the karma, you said, previous stuff,
Yes.
but also we would say,
It's also explained that the state has a superior.
but also karma should be understood as an intention, perspective, and changing act.
Also,
Exactly. So you say, yeah, you're right. Karma is say we are influenced or we have before life or whatever. But also the point of karma in the Buddhist sense is that if you are become conscious of the previous karma, the pattern karma, we can change it because karma should be understood as an intention, change of perspective, and change of behavior.
yes.
This dimension should be left out.
And the other aspect is that the paramita, which is the merit, also empower the state or the rulers to rule over the lessers, those who have the inferior paramita.
Yeah, right.
So that is pretty much quite predatory by nature.
Yeah.
I mean, it's created a total stratification.
Yeah, maybe,
So would that facilitate the peacemaking system? I mean, pacification?
I don't make a discuss later.
All right.
I think the guys were waiting for that, so.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. It's lots of questions, I think.
Can I have one?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. I have the same background with him, so that I can understand. I evaluate his unique contribution combining Buddhist inner peace with the peace building. But I have two questions. I think the human international dimension of peace that can be gained from the current policy implemented right now. For example, the freedom from fear and the freedom from war.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that the former that can be gained from the, for example, the UN peacekeeping, as a latter that can be gained from the development policy, development assistance. How do you refer to that? And the second point is, I think that it is great and if applicable, this Buddhist theory to the reality. But how do you really institutionalize? How do you apply to the real world the peace
you're right. I mean, actually, you're right. I mean, I'm still struggling, to how we can apply this one to contribute to this real world. So, but also I can some create model, and then I can create some like peace education based on this one. And then if I find partners, I can just practice based from a small, steps. So, but you're right. I was still, to be honest, struggling because it's difficult. I'm still struggling. But still, in my theoretical research, I found this stuff. But as you're right, how I can apply this one to institutionalize so that in the sustainable, I think still I'm struggling. But I think this as a small step, I can find some small partner. I have some friends in Myanmar. Then we can try to create some peace education model. Then create some textbooks or stuff. Then do some workshops. I think that's going to be the very small step. But I think it's going to be the first step. So I think thank you for your questions.
I'd like to ask one question before we close. How much of the concept of community and relations to other people is included in the Buddhist concept of inner peace? Because inner peace sometimes seems to be individualistic.
Yeah.
However, there's also this idea of relations to others. So how is that going to relate? So inner peace is communitarian sometimes?
Yeah, I think because when we look at the doctrine of interdependence, I think it's not only the meaning inner peace should be reflected into the community peace, because the Buddhism is more like a kind of community-based approach. Because not only inner peace is depend upon the peace of others. So this I think creates some kind of condition about like a dialogical community or positive community. So I think it should be included. And I also have, I can say, they have the foundation for that in the teaching and the approach. So,
Thank you very much. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope everyone is feeling very peaceful, and we're ready for the next presentation by Professor Lee. Professor Lee is going to take us to medical cures by Korean shamans, part 2. Part 1 was last year.
Yeah, last year.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is it good to listen? Yeah. Thank you very much. And then, good afternoon, everyone. I'm talking about the Korean shamans medical cure number 2. And then the number 1 was last year. And then this year is number 2. And then the same. The shaman says, I'm not a doctor, I only know how to jump up and down. The shaman language is that. Anyway, next page. That is the introduction of the Korean shamanism, and that is kind of part of last presentation. And then just to introduce something about that. And it's a Korean shamanism was depressed by year. And then every religious point of view try to depress the Korean shamanism. But anyway, they are survived by the people till now. And it's like Korean is very famous for the Protestant Christianity. And then about that Christian pastoral was about 100,000 are registered. And shamanism, 300,000 were registered as a shaman. And then, but unregistered people would be double number of the 3,000, almost 50,000 shamans were active at this moment in Korea. Anyway, they usually women, mostly head by women, and so it's a kind of it's a male-centered society, and then there is some kind of different level of ritual thing is in shaman. And then there are 3 important aspects in Korean shamanism. The number 1 is the gods, number 2 is shaman, and number 3 is household. that is a client, or some kind, if some other people said it's not the client, it's kind of, that is so, sometimes the shaman said it is not the religion, because the shaman and the client relationship is kind of, it's like a lawyer and the client relationship. Sometimes it looks like, So some people say it's not a religion. Anyway, that is the traditional Korean shaman performance. Yeah, it's a picture of the most famous Korean shaman, Kingma. Anyway, traditionally the first sense of shaman was a medicine man. It's a medicine man, it's a shaman, it's almost the same. Especially in the Tungus shaman, that's famous. And then the shaman language comes from the Tungus, the Siberia. And then so they believe that all the disease and some kind of misfortune came from the supernatural causes. So, it's kind of, so it's a evil love. The evil spirits are sort of impersonated of ill love. They are forever wondering about and seeking a painful intimacy with the frail mortality. So, all right, yeah. And then I'd like to talk about Rudolf Bultmann. It's the famous theologian. And then he said, we cannot use electric light and radios and even some illness, avail ourselves of modern medical and clinical means, and at the same time, believe in the spirit and wonder, word of New Testament. And anyway, he said, the famous one, the mythology. So he tried to read of all the mystical aspect in New Testament. So he said, there is only one. The God loves us, and then the God saved us, and then nothing mystical. But I think it's absurd and ridiculous. God loves me, or loves us, or saves us. It's mystical, isn't it? I think it's ridiculous. Anyway, he liked to come something from that, it's some scientific method on the theories. But that is not just Bultmann's case. It's actually the Judaism. Judaism is kind of some deep mythological method, have they? So before Judaism, the sun was a great god. Moon was a great god too. And the river, wind, and storm, also they are god. All they are god. The world was full of gods. But, sometime, one day, Yahweh comes on, and then he said, nothing is God except for me. It's so ridiculous. He also, and then Judaism has made the demythologificated onto other religions, so the Christians are regarded natural world as a material, whilst the other were serving the rivers and mountains as a god. Christians were framed it as a superstition. I think Christian was ridiculous. And then now time Korean, almost 10 million people is Christian. So I think it's a kind of ridiculous there, yeah? Anyway, the meaning and symbol. the Korean shaman speak pagan religion. Yeah, you know, so I'm proud of pagan speaking pagan religion. And then talking about the spirits, and then they have a different concept of cause and effect from modern world and Christianity. Yeah, so they said the cause of what? Cause of illness, cause of failure is God. But however, God not merely fairy tales, but they are acting like a symbol of meanings. Yeah, look at that. All the face of God is just how can I say it? Something meaning with faces, not just the shape of God. All their meaning is a kind of meaning of the life, meaning of my friend, meaning of my love, meaning of my ancestor. I think it's quite fitting. In this place, symbolic language has face of man and woman, mother and father. All right. A client in the case one, I'd like to introduce the case, my friend case. A client, not believer or patient, look at that. A visitor shaman. He had a tiny stroke at his head. At the hospital, doctor was not sure the cause. He just suggested drugs and recheck in hospital in 6 months, and you know it's always doctors like that. Yeah. Uncertainty of cause is driving the client panic. Yeah, he always worried about how about my head, and then when I worrying, you know that kind of thing is always night and day, and then he panicked, and then he couldn't do anything, and his nerve is about to break down. The shaman's diagnosis was typical. You had been raided by an evil spirit. Oh, bullshit. Right? And then it's not a penny worth. It's nothing, actually. Anybody can say like that, you know? But the next oracle was quite critical. She was telling his family tragedies such as the short life of his grandfather and the father. And then this time is your turn. Your grandfather was, and then at the time, shaman said, your grandfather was died about 48 years old, and then your father died at 50 years old, and then you're now 49. It's your turn. Now time, this year, you will be there. And then he said, oh my God, like that. And then the shaman was identifying the different cause, meaning. And then you've been surrounded by the meaning. And actually he was, he said, I'm a kind of orphan. I'm a poor boy. My mother and father was died, and then nobody kindly to me, and then I'm lonely boy, like that. And then, but the shaman said, you've been watched by your ancestor, your father and mother is surrounded by you, and then always worried about you, and always care about you. And then he said, oh my God, if then I'm not alone. How can I say, he screamed. And then the shaman gave him some kind of meaning. After ritual, he became an ordinary man. Yeah, before he was not an ordinary man. Then he became an ordinary man. And the meaningful word, not the meaningless word. Business as usual, he took the pills daily and paid a visit to hospital and rechecked. Final verdict was, you recovered completely. Yeah. And then undeniable, it could be a psychological side, like a placebo effect. You know, who believe that the shamaning ritual made him well? Nobody cares. But there is a fundamental element too, is said that the shaman gave him a meaning of his life. The meaning of life is not easy coming from the material stuff. He regarded him as a single man, yeah, without family. But the shaman telling him, you are not a poor boy. You have a family in spiritual world and you are relating with your surround continuously, both physically and spiritually. He felt the hand of care of parents of a spiritual world. Yeah. Anyway, we are like that. If someone will accept this logic, he will live in a different world of meaning. Now he became better than before. He is now become here a natural lover. Oh no, before that he was some kind of bold, old fat kind of stuff, and then he became good people, natural lover, and then sometimes call me and will you go some meditation with me? And so I said, no, get lost. I said, I told him like that. Meditation at the temple, yeah, became some, it's some kind of inner peace, yeah. In this material world, medical treatment is material too. It's not enough bioethics for patients or ordinary people. Shamanic cures show more than this. This meaning of life, I think, it is significant for bioethics approach. To give a meaning. Everything have a meaning. Everything is shining. Make somebody to believe that or live with that shining things. And I think the shaman gave us. Shamanism is giving us that kind of meaning or shining things. Because everything is, all the world is shining. The God. For human, cause and effect, nature and language are not only material, but also symbolic and spiritual is not material. The meanings are coming when the world is shining. I think shining is quite important. When the sun, moon, and the mountains are shining again, I know that the God only shines like gold. As long as we are looking for meaning, God and spiritual side invade the man with 1,000 faces. We better do not underestimate the power of meanings. Before that, I'd like to say one thing. In Latin proverb, there's in necessita unitas, in un necessita libertas, in omni caritas. That means in necessity we have to agree. In unnecessity, it is a kind of dubious, doubtful thing. We have to be liberal. But in both cases, we have to love each other. That is quite a beautiful proverb. And then, it's in material world, and we are living in the scientific world, we can agree all the scientific things and then rational things and then rationality and reasoning and so forth. But sometimes the rationality can suit everything. There is some other things, etc. what remains. In that case, I like to suggest that we have to give some shining things, meanings, and then so I discovered that the shining thing in some, not, I think it's some kind of thing like in traditional Korean shamanism. So that's it for me. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Okay, please.
Yes, many thanks for your interesting thing. In fact, last year you have invited me, and I spent not the whole year, but after listening to your last presentation, I went back to Hong Kong to check out the interesting thing. In fact, I was misunderstood my upbringing. I never thought it's shamanism in some way, but one of the interesting things is in Hong Kong, there's some form of shamanism, but within the institution of a traditional folk religions, temples.
Yeah.
Normally a temple house someone have this sort of spiritual power to be like a reference or priest to perform some function.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there's also the performing in terms of some form of possession or trance.
Yeah.
At the same time, not just the one, the priest or the one who perform, but they can subcontract to someone like somebody, okay, somebody, a stranger, to perform that sort of thing, which is interesting for me, which reflect the way in which how individuals to be in a spiritual trance to perform some functions which are indeed difficult to explain in terms of Western sciences. I think your presentation is excellent. Give me a lot of interesting observation and we learn. Thank you much.
Yeah, and actually, the Korean shamanism was originally Korean shamanism. They have some kind of role as a priest in rural agricultural society. But in Korean, almost 90% people live in the cities. It's an urban life is based in Korea, and then in a highly industrialized society. And so, but the funny thing is the Korean shaman is number is getting bigger and bigger. So after that, before the shaman is a priest, they don't need to possessed by the gods, because they are priests and institutionalized shaman. No need to be possessed. But now time, the modern urban shamans, they are possessed shaman. So I think it's quite different from the Shinto and Hong Kong shaman. And then, another thing is the shaman, it's a Korean shaman. They, even Christian, Catholic, Buddhist, when they got some problem, they visit shaman. So it's not quite like kind of, it's the religious aspect. The religion means some kind of grouping, it's a religion. But they are some, it's an old gathering of ancestors, looks like. But they focused on that they are some kind of power of giving meaning. It's just a medical treatment. It's not enough, I think. So I'm studying about the shamanism. Yep.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Anybody want to share your reflections on shamanism?
Yeah, that is a braid, and the shaman step on the braid. Yeah, the kind of meaning of the victory. I'm victory will fight with some evil spirit, so I can step on the blade.
The sword blade.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Kate, please.
Thank you very much for your very interesting presentation. I'm interested in about the shaman from Tungudic language.
Right. Yeah.
Is it all the time until up to present? And are they seen as a kind of foreign by the people in Korea? Good question.
Actually, it's the first time the Korean was focused on the original shaman. We study about the researchers, but the original shaman we thought that come from the Tungus, some Trans-Siberia, and they came from some language. They share the languages as well. But in history, Korean, there is lots of Buddhism was there, and then Confucianism was there, and then now time the Christian is some kind of dominant religious power, and even though the shaman, in Korean temple, there is also shaman shrine as well. Almost every Buddhist temple. And then, in Joseon period of almost 600 years, they depressed the shaman forcefully. But they are living in, anyway, here and there in everything, every day, and everywhere there is a shaman. And even now time, the Christian. So the shaman is changing continuously. So from that could be the Tungus and Trans-Siberia. But now time that they change it, and then now time they became some kind of urban shaman, and then so Korean in Seoul, some area the shaman saw gathering that areas, so there is some hundreds of shaman, the place, the fortune telling place are there. So I couldn't say some kind of thing in. But no. Sorry about that. I can say that a Korean shaman is changing continuously. So we can spot any common things from the Tungus shaman and now Korean shaman, right?
It's a big question.
Yeah.
Do you know a way of training or education of shamans?
Right, yeah. Traditionally, the Korean shaman, when somebody was some kind of appointed by the god, and then they have some kind of phenomenon on body, so quite nervous or the pain on their bodies and something like that, and then they visit the shaman, and then the famous shaman said, "Oh, you got appointed by the god, and you have to be your shaman." And then they got some kind of, if done, they got some kind of special ceremony, and then the novice became apprentice of the famous shaman. So it's that relationship is godmother and goddaughter. And so she training for years and years and years, and she learned how to sing, how to dance, how to treat the evil spirits, that kind of thing, and then became one independent shaman. But now time there is some kind of academy as well. Yeah, and then now time there is so they can learn the songs and dances, and then even that the shaman tradition is different from each province of Korea. the Hwanghae-do is different and the Jeollado is different. So they can choose the tradition as well. So there's an academy. You can go there and then you can learn that. Yeah, don't worry about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, is there any more question? And then I will finish that.
I think, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay.